The scream ripped through the morning, raw and piercing, shattering the fragile calm of our Colorado suburb. My son, Lucas, 8 years old, was in the backyard, his voice a high-pitched wail of fear. I dropped my coffee mug, the ceramic exploding on the porch, and sprinted toward the sound, my bare feet pounding the cold grass. The wooden gate to our backyard hung open, and 2 strangers in black windbreakers were stepping through, their movements deliberate, predatory. The letters HOA were scrawled in crooked white duct tape across their backs. My gut twisted. This wasn't right. "Hey!" I shouted, my voice cracking. "What the hell are you doing?" They didn't flinch. The shorter one, stocky and bald, marched toward Lucas, who stood frozen on the ladder of his playhouse, clutching the rungs. The taller one, lean and sharp, turned just enough for me to catch the glint of his sunglasses. "HOA inspection," he said, his tone flat. "Unapproved structure. We're here to enforce compliance. We're not under an HOA." I snapped, closing the distance. "This is private property. Get out." But they ignored me, their calm infuriating. The bald one reached into his pocket, and I saw Eat a zip tie. Not a clipboard, not a pen. My blood ran cold. They weren't here for the playhouse. They were here for my son. I lunged, ready to tackle them, but a gravelly voice stopped me cold. "Back away from the boy." It was my father, Jack Callahan, 67, retired bounty hunter, standing in the garage doorway. He'd been levying with us for a month, a widower seeking quieter, so I thought. Now he stood, denim jacket taut over his shoulders, his old leather belt cinched at his waist, the one that once held a holster. His eyes were ice, his hand gripping a coil of nylon rope. He wasn't just awake, he was ready. The men froze. The bald one, later identified as Carl Dempsey, sneered. "Stay out of this, old man." Jack didn't blink. 3 seconds to drop that zip tie, he said, voice low lethal. 1. Carl hesitated. The tall one, Ethan Voss, twitched toward his jacket. 2. Before Jack said 3, he moved a blur of muscle memory. He grabbed Carl's collar, yanked him to the grass with a thud, and zip-tied his wrists in seconds. Ethan lunged, but Jack sidestepped, driving an elbow into his ribs. Ethan crumpled, and Jack had him bound before he could gasp. 2 men, younger than my father, were down in under 15 seconds. I stood, heart hammering, as Jack dragged them to his 1969 Chevy Impala, a battered beast with chipped black paint. He popped the trunk, tossed in a ratchet strap and flashlight, and turned to me. "Stay inside, Michael. Lock the doors. No calls yet." His voice was calm, but his eyes were steel. "Dad, what are you doing?" I stammered. He didn't answer, just hefted Carl into the trunk, then Ethan. The lid slammed shut, and he slid into the driver's seat. "Where are you going?" I asked, breathless. He met my eyes. "Into the woods. They'll talk there." The Impala roared to life and peeled out, gravel spitting, disappearing down the street. That morning had begun like any other. The sun crept over the Rockies, bathing our neighborhood in gold. Birds chirped in the maples, and the air smelled of pine and dew. I'd been on the porch, barefoot, savoring the quiet before the rush of getting Lucas to school. Lucas was in the backyard, sweeping leaves off the playhouse we'd built a rickety plywood spaceship painted blue. He called it his command center, where he'd play astronaut for hours. It was his haven, and I loved watching him lose himself in it. Then I saw them 2 men walking down the sidewalk, too slow, too deliberate. Their windbreakers and taped-on HOA patches screamed trouble. Our neighborhood hadn't had an HOA in years, not since the last board collapsed in a scandal. These weren't utility workers or city inspectors. They moved like predators, eyes scanning every yard until they locked onto ours. They turned into my driveway without hesitation. I stepped forward, voice steady as I could manage. "Can I help you?" Carl barely glanced at me. "HOA inspection. Backyard structures." "There's no HOA here," I shot back. "You're on private property." Ethan stopped, his sunglasses hiding his eyes. "Sir," he said, condescending, "your backyard has an unapproved structure. It violates code." requires removal. That's my son's playhouse, I said, anger rising. You've got no authority. Ethan shrugged. It's over the height limit. We sent warnings. They hadn't. No letters, no calls, nothing. I opened my mouth to argue, but they were already at the gate, unlatching it and stepping into my backyard. Hey, I shouted, my mug shattering on the ground. You can't go back there. They didn't stop, striding past Sarah's rose bushes and Lucas's soda can wind chimes, straight toward him. Lucas stood halfway up the ladder, eyes wide with fear. That's when I saw the zip tie in Carl's hand, and my world tilted. I sprinted toward the house, yelling for Sarah to grab Lucas and lock the doors. My hands fumbled for my phone, but Jack's voice cut through. Put the phone down, Michael. He was already moving, pulling on his belt, his motions precise. They're in the yard, I said, shaking. They've got zip ties. Jack's eyes narrowed. I've got this. He opened a steel lockbox in the garage, revealing gloves, zip cuffs, a flashlight, and a GoPro camera. You kept all this? I whispered. He gave a faint smile. Old habits. He handed me the GoPro. Keep it running. Don't follow. I nodded, trembling. Outside, Carl and Ethan circled the playhouse, barking at Lucas. Get down, kid, Carl snapped. Sarah held Lucas, tears streaming, screaming at them to leave. They ignored her, emotionless. Then Jack stepped into the yard. He didn't shout, just walked, boots crunching. Carl turned, smirking, but it vanished when Jack yanked him down. Ethan tried to react, but Jack was a force, his movements lethal. In seconds, both men were zip-tied, gagged with rags, and tossed into the Impala's trunk. Call the sheriff in an hour, Jack said, brushing off his jeans. An hour? I croaked. Where are you going? He met my eyes. Into the woods. They need to learn. Then he was gone, the Impala's growl fading. I paced the kitchen, hands twitching toward my phone. Sarah held Lucas, her face pale. What's Grandpa doing? Lucas asked. I didn't know how to answer. I want to call the sheriff, but something stopped me. Jack wasn't just my father, the quiet man who fed the birds. He was a hunter, a man who'd tracked fugitives across state lines, who'd faced down monsters and never flinched. Those men in his trunk had no idea who they'd crossed. Jack drove into the Roosevelt National Forest, down a dirt path far from tourist trails. The pines closed in, swallowing the Impala's rumble. He pulled over near a clearing, the air heavy with moss and sap. Stepping out, he walked to the trunk and opened it. The men's screams erupted. You're crazy. This is kidnapping. Jack let them yell, clipping the GoPro to his jacket and hitting record. Say hello to the truth, he said. He pulled Carl out, blindfolded and gagged. Then Ethan, trembling. Jack sat them on a log, removed their gags, and paced. Listen, he said. You're not in danger of being hurt. You're here to understand. He held up our property records, highlighted. No, HOA. You lied, impersonated officers, approached a child with restraints. That's attempted abduction. Felonies. Ethan tried to speak, but Jack cut him off. You picked the wrong house, the wrong kid, the wrong grandfather. Carl's voice shook. We didn't know. A guy paid us to a 500 house to enforce violations. Said nobody fights back. We weren't going to hurt the kid. Jack's eyes darkened. Zip ties to scare an 8-year-old? Silence. Jack turned to Ethan. Your turn. Ethan swallowed. He sounded legit. A law firm guy. Gave us dossiers problem houses. Your family was listed. Your son was. Leverage. Jack's jaw tightened. Leverage. That's what they called Lucas. He leaned in. Who hired you? Ethan muttered, Victor Grayson. Jack nodded, pulling out a burner phone and dialing. Sheriff Daniels, came the voice. Jack Callahan, Jack said. 2 suspects, citizen custody. Impersonation, trespass, child endangerment. Coordinates coming. He ended the call, kneeling before Carl. You're lucky I'm retired. He stood, dusted his hands, and drove off, Leah VYing them tied to the log, the GoPro recording. The sheriff would find them, and they'd talc on tape. 2 days later, a hesitant knock came. I opened the door to Paul Whitaker, HOA president, sweating through his blazer, clutching a folder. I need to speak with you and your father, he said, voice cracking. He's not interested, I replied. Please, Whitaker begged. This wasn't us. Victor Grayson went rogue, forged documents, hired those men. We had no idea. I didn't move. You're the president. You should have known. Whitaker slumped. Grayson was trusted, a board member for years. We found fake memos, hidden accounts. We fired him, cooperating with police. He opened the folder, revealing statement from homeowners, elderly couples fined for tri-VY Ollie ties, single moms harassed. Each ended. If not for Jack Callahan, we'd still be afraid. He offered a letter apologizing, offering to cover damages. I didn't take it. My dad doesn't do this for thanks. He does it because people like you let the wrong man hold power. I shut the door. The sheriff's statement confirmed the citizen's arrest, and Jack's GoPro footage went viral. Hashtags like the Hunter HOA and the Grandpa Justice trended. Reporters camped outside, but Jack stayed silent, refusing interviews. He sat on the porch each morning, coffee in hand, shotgun nearby, not a threat, but a promise. Our mailbox filled with letters, thank yous from across the country, from families bullied by HOAs, veterans fined for flags. One, from a woman in Texas, read, "Your father gave me courage to fight back." Jack remained the same, quiet, grounded. One afternoon, I found him cleaning his old bounty gear. "What are you doing?" I asked. He didn't look up. "Staying ready, in case they come again." "Dad," I said, "you don't have to protect us like that anymore." He met my eyes, unwavering. "I didn't do this for the sheriff or the news. I did it because when men come for your kid with zip ties and lies, you don't wait. You stop them." He paused. "Lucas is safe. That's enough. The playhouse still stands, now with solar lights and cameras, not from fear, but to say we're watching." Jack drinks his coffee on the porch at 6 a.m., facing the street. The birds chirp, the sun rises, and somewhere in those woods, two men still tell stories of the old man who made them face justice not with a badge, but with a stare that cut through their souls. They came for my son, thinking they'd scare us. They didn't know my dad used to hunt monsters for a living. If you were the one in this story, how would you react? Would you stand up and fight back, or accept the unreasonable pressure and control from the HOA? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe, like, and share this video with more people. Your small action gives us the motivation to keep bringing you more intense and engaging stories. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.